Welcome to Virtual Jain Camp. My name is Apeksha.
My name is Vipul and Vijan.
And this is?
My name is Vipul.
And we're here to present you with story time. We're going to narrate stories based on Jain principles of nonviolence, which is Ahimsa, and truthfulness. So the first story is called King Hans. In the city of Rajpur, there lived a king named Hans. He was a fair and just king, known for his devotion to truth and non-violence. On top of Mount Ratnasringa, there was a beautiful temple dedicated to Rishabdev, the first Tirthankar. During the month of Chaitra, on the day of the full moon, people came from far to visit and worship at the temple. Once, the king decided to visit the temple. He asked his council of ministers to look after the kingdom during his prolonged absence and left with members of the royal household in the spiritual mission. A few days after King Hans departed, King Arjun attacked the city. In spite of putting up a strong fight, King Hans's army was defeated and many of his generals lost their lives on the battlefield. King Arjun gained control of the palace and the treasury. He occupied the royal throne and enforced his authority over the entire kingdom. King Hans heard the story of their defeat on the way to the temple. The king's courtiers were very upset and advised him to return to the city. The king said, "I have given up control of the kingdom and we're on a spiritual mission, and that is what we should be thinking about. So let's keep going to the temple." The king's courtiers were unhappy about the king's decision and worried about the safety of their families at home. One by one, they all dropped out until one umbrella bearer was left with the king. On the way to the temple, they had to pass through the forest, and the king took off his royal dress and jewelry and gave them to his servant. While passing through the forest, the servant was separated from the king. As the king was walking, a deer ran in front of him and disappeared. Right after that, the hunter came running with a bow in his hand and asked if the king had seen the deer. The king knew that if he told the truth, the deer would be killed. He decided not to answer the question and instead kept talking about irrelevant things. He said that he came from Rajpur, and then the hunter asked him again about the deer. The hunter asked him again about the deer, and he answered that he was the king. The hunter was very upset with the answers of the king, and he left in anger. By now, the king was tired, and he decided to rest under a tree. He overheard a discussion in the bushes about robbing some monks who would pass that way in the next 2 days. The king got concerned about the safety of the monks. While he was thinking about what he could do, some policemen approached him and asked if he had seen any suspicious people that looked like robbers. They said, "These people are very dangerous, and we've heard that they harm holy people. We're here to arrest them or even shoot them if necessary to protect the holy people." The king was in a dilemma again, whether to tell the truth or not. He was concerned that if he told the police about the robbers, they would be harmed, and if he did not, the monks would be harmed. He thought, if by telling the truth someone gets hurt or killed, then telling that truth is not the best choice. Truth is supposed to protect and not harm anyone. He said, "My friends, you're asked to guard the monks. Why not go and look after the monks and worry about the robbers if they confront the monks?" The policemen agreed and left to join the monks. The robbers who were hiding in the bushes heard all of this. They were amazed at the mercy shown by the king, who was a stranger to them. They came out, thanked him for saving their lives, and told him that they were at his service. The king advised them, "My dear friends, give up harassing people, the fugitive life you lead, and be good citizens." The robbers promised that they would not harm the monks anymore and would try to be good citizens. As if this wasn't enough, a group of soldiers came and asked him if he had seen King Hans. The king asked, "What do you want from King Hans?" They explained that they were the trusted men of King Arjun and that they had been told to arrest King Hans and kill him. And if they did, they would receive a big reward. King Hans thought for a moment and said, "I am King Hans. Carry out your duty as told by your king." After saying that, he closed his eyes, stood in meditation, and started reciting the Namaskar mantra. At once, a Dev appeared and said, "O king, I'm overwhelmed by your truthfulness and compassion. I've captured King Arjun, made him prisoner, and I have given control of your kingdom back to the ministers. Today is a great day for worship, but the temple is too far from here. There's no way you can reach there in time. My chariot is at your service. Please let me take you there." King Hans was surprised by the miraculous turn of events. In the company of the Dev, or the demigod, he reached the summit of Mount Ratnashringa in time to worship. The demigod then escorted him back to his kingdom. King Hans pardoned King Arjun and released his soldiers immediately. The angel appointed 4 lieutenants to look after the safety of the king and his kingdom, and they departed. King Hans once again ruled the city of Rajpur, and people were happy. So, what do you think the main theme of this story is?
Truth and taking care of people, even though if they're bad.
Yes, so the
Not killing things that are living. But if you kill living things, our friendship will get smaller.
So you're right. The main theme here is the importance of the Jain principles of, you're absolutely right, truthfulness and non-violence, which means not hurting anyone, and their interrelationship. So sometimes if you follow one Jain principle blindly, that can lead to the violation of another principle. That's what King Hans was faced with on multiple occasions. And he thought about each situation carefully, and he found a creative and smart and beneficial solution without violating any principles and without hurting anyone, right? So even though the principle of truthfulness would have told him to blindly tell the policeman the truth about the robbers, they would have gotten hurt, which would have violated the principle of non-violence, right? So when faced with, for example, Arjun's soldiers in the last situation, he told the truth because no other principles were being violated, even though it meant at the end that it could have ended his life. So he once again stuck to his Jain principles, even though he could have been killed for it. You guys ready for the second story?
Of course, we're all
Okay.
ready.
The next story is called Vipul and Vijan. Those are names of 2 people. So, in the forest of Pratistan, there lived a hermit, well known for predicting future events. Many times, the people of the village gathered around him, asking for predictions, even though the hermit did not always like to satisfy their curiosity. The hermit kept moving deeper and deeper into the jungle until people stopped looking for him. 2 friends, Vipul and Vijan, got lost in the jungle on their way to Pratistan. They feared for their lives in the dark and looked for shelter. Later in the night, they saw a hut and approached it with fear and uneasiness. They peeped into the hut and saw a hermit deep in meditation. They assumed that he was a hermit known for his predictions. They waited until the hermit completed his meditation and then told them their story about getting lost in the forest. The hermit heard their story and offered them fruits. The compassionate hermit told them to rest. The next morning, the hermit requested one of his disciples to show them the way to the village. However, before Vipul and Vijan left, they folded their hands and asked the hermit to tell them their future. The hermit declined politely, telling them that it wasn't advisable to know their future, and sometimes predictions may prove to be wrong. Both friends insisted, and at last the hermit told them their future. He looked at Vipul and told him that he would become a king within a year, while Vijan would die at the hands of an assassin during the same time. Outside the forest, Vipul could not contain his joy, while Vijan was very gloomy. It was only natural. Back in their town, Vipul behaved arrogantly and told everyone that if they misbehaved, he would chop off their heads when he became king. everyone in the village was afraid of him. Meanwhile, Vijan, who was a teacher, went about his work with great devotion and spent a lot of time in prayers and social work. He was humble to all and eventually overcame his sadness. He no longer feared death, but also surrendered himself to his destiny. 6 months later, Vipul asked Vijan to accompany him to select the site of his future palace. Both were surveying the desert region when Vipul stumbled across a pot full of gold coins. He was joyous and told Vijan that he was going to use the money to buy a crown. Right then, a robber jumped out of the bushes and tried to snatch the pot. Vijan came to his friend's rescue and the robber attacked him with a dagger. Vijan was experienced in defensive tactics and drove off the robber, although he received a cut on his shoulder. The grateful Vipul offered his friend half the gold, but Vijan politely refused, saying that he was going to die soon and would have no use for the gold. Vipul spent the money irrationally and squandered it in eating and drinking. A full year passed, and Vipul did not become a king, and Vijan did not die. Both friends went back to the hermit in search of an explanation. The hermit was a meditation. He said to Vipul, "Your destiny changed because of your thoughtless actions over the year. The crown that was meant to come to you was reduced to a simple pot of gold which you found in the field." He said to Vipul, "Your destiny changed because of your thoughtless actions over the year. The crown that was meant to come to you was reduced to a simple pot of gold which you found in the field." He said to Vijan, "Your prayers, humility, and trust in religion changed your destiny too. Death by the hands of an assassin was changed to a mere wound." The two friends returned to the village thoughtful of their actions and the results and the meaning of life. So, this story is about karma.
What's karma?
Which means that one's karma is governed by one's thoughts and deeds in the present as well as the past lives. Knowing their fate, Vipul and Vijan changed their behavior. One changed for the worse and the other for the better. Arrogance and materialistic indulgence led to bad karma that impacted Vipul's future in a negative manner. Conversely, humility, prayers, and faith in the divine led to good karma, which impacted Vijan's future in a positive manner. So, we should all strive to behave in a manner that will promote good karma in our current and future lives. Okay? So that means if you do good jobs and if you're good to other people, then good things will happen to you in the future as well. Thank you for joining us. I hope you guys had a great time listening to Storytime. And stay tuned. And don't forget to
subscribe
towards Ahimsa's YouTube channel for a lot more informational and valuable and super fun content. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, this is just a practice video right now. It's not a video.
It's not recording anything. Don't press anything. Okay, guys, we gotta finish this tonight. We don't have all night. Ravu, you just moved the camera. Oh my god, Ravu. Betwamp, please. Thank you very much. You look great. So good. Not. Oh my god.
Hiccup boy, bye.
Guys, first once you're back. I'm not fixing it.
Virtual Jan camp.
Redo it. Gotta redo it. Come on. You're making that hard.
Okay, calm
Okay,
down.
ready? Tell me to calm down.
Sorry
Ready?
guys, this is a real raw fare problem.
Guys, please We gotta finish tonight. Don't have all night.
It's all.
Story सुनो. अब बाबू सिर्फ वहाँ पे बैठ तो कर सकती है, please. King होता है वो story सुनाने
Like
nice
we give that control of the city, we give up